All right, John, it's great to have you back on the show. It's been way too long since we've talked, and I'm super excited for multiple reasons, many of which I'm sure we will get into in the course of this interview. But thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited to talk to you.
Oh, well, good. That makes me feel great. Cool deal, man. Well, dude, first off, I feel like I would be remiss if I kept anybody waiting because you just made a huge announcement that just like totally blew up my world yesterday, and that you have a new band, and I know everyone wants to know about that.
Sure. Yeah. It's been funny. I've been waiting to announce for just forever, and I never knew when would be a good time. There's just always so much going on. And in fact, this was originally going to announce before we announced the Ledger, project, which I'm assuming you'll probably ask me about at some point too.
Could be.
This was going to happen a while back, and then we decided to push it. So I've been like dying to announce the fans. And recently, it just worked out to where we had a window to put the EP out, and I was just really excited about telling the fans. So yeah, really excited. I'd love to talk more about it. It's called Fight the Fury, and talk more about it and what it's all about. But the main thing is that a lot of the fans were concerned that meant Skillet wasn't happening anymore. So I tried very quickly to make sure that people knew that Skillet is still happening. This is just kind of, it's a second band.
Right. Cool. Well, sounds great, man. And I personally wasn't worried about that, not because Skillet is not on my radar. I don't care about it, but I was like, yeah, if that was the end of Skillet, I think they would have opened with that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Something worth mentioning.
Right. It seems like, as much as I know everyone's like just thrilled out of their gourds about this new project, Fight the Fury, at the same time, it's like, I know that you guys wouldn't do that and then be like, oh yeah, 2 weeks later. By the way, Skillet's not happening anymore.
Yeah, that's right. It's been too long. It means too much. But yeah, the fans have been really just great and excited. We've got such a great loyal following, and of course that's the reason we've been around for so long. Is because the fans stay with us, through it all. And so, there was a lot of excitement about the new project, and honestly, it was for the fans because for the last 5, 7, 8 years, I keep getting. Every time we release a record, I'll get messages from fans. Hey, I really like it, but I'm really hoping you'll do something really heavy like Collide. I hear that all the time.
Right.
Or really, like your older stuff or this or something a little more of this. And that's a side of Skillet that I really like. And so, really, it's for those fans that have been looking for something hard and heavy.
Awesome. I love it. Cool. Well, of course, as we've said a couple of times, the band is Fight the Fury, and it's you and your current guitarist for Skillet. And then there's 2 other guys. Where did they come into all this?
Yeah, funny enough, Seth Morrison, who is Skillet's guitar player, is in the band. Our second guitar player actually was someone that I've known for years. He auditioned for Skillet the same time we auditioned Seth.
Okay.
And I really liked him. I thought he was a great guy. He was 16 at the time, and I was like, it's really young. He's a great dude. Let's keep in touch. And him and Seth they became friends pretty soon after that point. And all of a sudden it was like, hey, I need another guitar player. And, I've known his name's John Panzer. I've known him. He's a great guitar player. He's not 16 anymore.
Right.
I'd already had 2 teenagers in my band before with Ben, who was our, guitar player for 10 years. And he joined the band. He was 16. And when Jen joined the band, she was 17. And I just thought, man, I need to get somebody a little older, trying to get rental cars for 16-year-olds is really hard.
Right. The things that people don't think about with bands is like, you're never home.
Yeah, exactly. We go to play a club with, I don't know, Slipknot, and it's 21 and over, and my band can't come in and play. So I have to get all these parental forms signed. I'm like, you know what?
It's a crazy world. That is rock and roll, man. No doubt. Oh dear. Okay, cool. Well, what about your drummer? Where's he coming from?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I was so into telling that story.
Oh, no worries.
I forgot I had a drummer. And, yeah. So it kind of sounds like a joke, but my guitar player Seth, he's like, "Hey, my cousin plays drums," and it was one of those moments. At first I was like, "Yeah, like, hey, my girlfriend plays tambourine."
Right. Yeah.
It kind of felt like that. Are you serious? Okay. and ends up his cousin really plays drums, fantastic, and that's the greatest part for me, is because finding a band is hard work. I mean, finding people that can play the music is hard, but finding people that you can be with is really a difficult thing. That's not a joke. It's kind of like, it's like being married, or even like if you've ever gone on vacation. Some people in high school, maybe you've gone like on a vacation with a best friend or a road trip, and after 3 days you're like, yeah, I need a break from this person. It's my best friend. They're driving me crazy, and that's what it's like being on the road. And so, and then you have the most important thing, honestly, which I assume a lot of listeners will understand, is that you have to have people you can trust their lives. I mean, a lot of people can say that they want to live a Christian life, but they don't actually do it. And knowing that people are living out their faith, and you can trust them, especially with a band like Skillet or Fight the Fury, because we do a lot of stuff outside of the church. We're not just playing churches and Christian events. We're kind of, I love it, but we're in the lion's den a lot of the times. There's going to be lots of things out there. So knowing somebody's life is a really important thing with finding a band.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that is kind of a hard trio to get. It's like you got to get somebody who can play good, somebody who you can get along with, even though you're spending like 20 hours of the day together. And then also you have to have somebody who is kind of in a like-minded faith. And that is a hard trio to find.
Exactly.
Cool. And so I'm guessing that you're going to still be on bass duty in Fight the Fury?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's kind of my goal that people might even know that I play bass. This is becoming a comedy interview. I'm telling you, nobody knows that I play bass. It's the weirdest thing because, I don't know. I'm not like an awesome bass player, but I'm good. I'm good enough to be recognized as a player, and it's really hilarious. Nobody knows I play. And the Fight the Fury stuff is a little bit, it's a lot more musical. It's more riffy. It's more in the, Metallica and the Veins and Slipknot. So some of the people that have heard it said, wow, who's playing the bass stuff? And I was like, I am.
It's like a little credit here, guys.
I've been doing it for 20 years. So it's still me. Anyway, yeah, you play bass? Yeah, I play bass.
And see, the funny thing is because the reason I ask is because I remember when Kevin Young from Disciple finally got a bass player for the band, which is ironic considering they don't now. They kind of run that off of a track because he goes, I'm not going back. As soon as they got a bass player in his band, he goes, never again. I'm not doing it again. I can't do it again. So I always kind of assumed at some point you would hand it off and be like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, no, that's funny you say that because I'm a big Disciple fan, and Kevin's a really good friend of mine. And I remember when he switched, I remember saying, man, you're such a great front man. It's kind of cool, but I really miss you. There's not many bass players / singers, and
right.
But man, I really miss the bass, but you're such a good front man. I kind of like it, but I kind of don't. And we played together last weekend, and I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, wow, I forgot that he used to play bass, and now he doesn't. But to tell you the truth, I love playing bass, and especially if it's riffy and getting to do some prog rock, a little touch of prog in there, Dream Theater and that kind of stuff. It's kind of fun, and it gives the chance to kind of show your chops a little bit with Fight the Fury, especially.
Sure. Yeah, I get that. That's fantastic. I know that the direction is kind of heavy, and you've kind of alluded that maybe like some nods to like Metallica and Slipknot. What do you think people are going to be the most surprised by who are coming at this record as a Skillet fan who maybe like heavy Skillet stuff but just aren't quite sure what they're getting into?
I really don't know. I mean, certainly we've done heavy stuff in the past.
Right.
It's a little bit like the heaviest stuff Skillet's ever done probably was on a record Collide.
Right.
And it's a little bit like that. It's a little bit more metal, and it's a little bit more, it's not like overly heavy, but they're probably going to be most surprised by some of the screaming or growling that's on it. It's not over the top, but it's not something that people have heard me do a whole lot of.
Right.
That and a lot of the metal riffs, they might be a little surprised. But in the end, it sounds very much like what people would imagine completely raw, unfiltered John Cooper sounding like. It's like it's like before we polish it up and make it pop.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Nice. Now, do you have any ideas on when this EP will be released?
You know what? I do, but I'm not allowed to say it yet. But we are going to make an announcement in a week. So probably the best thing to do would be to follow Fight the Fury on Facebook and Instagram, that sort of thing.
Sure.
And we're going to be making some announcements over the next, say, 7 to 8, 9 days.
Okay. Sounds good. Cool. Now, how did it come to be that y'all were going to be playing your first shows in Russia? It seems like kind of an odd place to start.
Yeah, it does. I mean, one of the things is that the truth is that Russia is probably the only place in the world that Skillet is a little bit like Celebrity.
Oh, okay.
We're not Celebrity, but we're pretty close, and a lot more so than here. So it was a little bit kind of like, hey, the Russian fans really adore Skillet in a way that we probably are not adored in the rest of the world to that level. And so in some ways it was a little bit like, hey, that would be kind of deserving. And a lot of those Russian fans really like the heavy stuff quite a lot.
Sure.
So those things happened. And it just it's funny. It just kind of worked out. We're going to be going back to Russia with Skillet. And I thought this would be a really cool precursor to kind of get some momentum, and it would just be a fun way, and it would be a cool thing to kind of show the fans who are there our appreciation for them.
Okay. Nice. I like it. Cool. And that makes sense. And I figured there was probably a reason. And I've heard that kind of like Russia and Eastern Europe, they still are very much a fan of heavy music. And some bands that, while they are popular here, are just like over the top popular over there, which is kind of cool.
It's really weird. We have for rock and hard rock, Skillet has we're in the top 5 largest social media following bands in Russia.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, it's really weird. It's like Slipknot and Green Day and 30 Seconds to Mars and Skillet. And I don't really know how that got so big, but it's kind of crazy. So that, I think there's something about the Skillet music, we have the kind of some of the classical vibe and the stuff that really resonates with those fans. So that's kind of cool.
Nice. That's very cool. I like that. Awesome. Well, since not to try to put that on the back burner or anything, I'm excited to know about that, and I feel like I've gotten all the questions answered that I feel like you probably can answer at this point about it. But I'm gonna say that I'm gonna be first in line for this because I'm definitely one of those fans who I've loved everything that you guys have done, but heavier is always better for me. So I'm very excited about this.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the last single that we played from you guys, that one that it just went great, and it was funny because I don't know that it was ever officially a single, but we were playing "Breaking Free" on the show. And as I understand it, did you guys like record this entire thing on a bus?
Yeah, we did. We recorded the whole thing on the bus and dressing rooms. We did some of the drums in a dressing room because the bus was not feasible for that.
Right.
And that was also, honestly, a little bit of a precursor to Fight the Fury.
Okay.
Not to keep going back to Fight the Fury, but
no worries.
I had started recording my own demos for Fury in the bus and in dressing rooms and locker rooms, and I was kind of learning how to do the recording myself. And I started getting the hang of it, and my Fury stuff started sounding pretty good. And so I said, you know what, guys, if we're going to do, this Skillet Breaking Free, I think we should do a heavier version of it, because the original version I had written was heavier, and then we recorded it and kind of dumbed it down and lightened it up a little bit. And I just said, why don't I just do it all on my own, with Corey, my wife, of course.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a precursor to that. And, I just thought it was a little bit more raw, and a little bit more, it had an emotion to it that I thought was really cool for that song. And calling Lacey Sturm to sing on it. She's a great friend of ours. We toured together with Flyleaf, and then, of course, we played with Lacey, and and remain good friends. Her and my wife are really good friends. And so it just kind of really worked out. And I felt that was a really cool track and something special for the extended, deluxe version of the album.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of my favorites. And that was my reaction, too. The first time I heard it, I was like, wow, this might be the heaviest thing that Skillet has ever done, which I did not see coming as like a bonus track for like an extended edition of a record. I think that's kind of cool that it is part of that, because it seems like that's just kind of a prime place to try something different. But I thought it was really good.
Yeah. It does seem, it did kind of feel, and I think that's why the label let me. I mean, not just throw a label or anybody or producer under the bus. I've had good relationships, but there is a little bit of that feeling of sometimes you want to do something that they're like, oh, no, you can't do that because this. And there was this feeling of, hey, guys, we'd already paid to record Breaking Free with another producer.
Right.
And I said, hey, honestly, I can do this myself. It's not going to cost me any money. Can I just give it a try? And I think that they let me because it was the bluff. It was, you're kind of gambling, but there's nothing on the line,
Right.
And so I think they kind of let me try, and I think it was a win. And I think that kind of set us up and for us to subsequently produce our own album for Ledger, do some self-producing for the new Skillet record that we are working on now, and for me to put for Fight the Fury, I wrote the entire record myself. I produced it myself. I recorded most all of it myself. I did the art direction. I did everything pretty much myself, and I think that a lot of it goes back to Breaking Free being a success and the fans loving it the way they did.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of one of those, what in business, what do they call it? Proof of concept?
I don't know if that's what they call it, but they should if they don't.
Yeah. It was like, hey, this works. It's like, okay, show us that it works. Well, there you go. Because I'm always astounded by the songs that do really, really well, but are never like officially like put forward as, hey, this is a single. Will you play this? Because there's only been, we're celebrating this month the 10th year of doing this show. And I think I can count on one hand the number of songs that were never officially a single that made it into the top 5 on Christian rock. And this is one of them. And I think it deserves it.
Wow, that's a cool story. I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, I would be remiss if I did not mention Ledger. How do you feel about that? Obviously you're supportive of it because it sounds like you guys kind of handled a lot of the recording yourself, but also you're on one of the songs on that EP. But what was your kind of perspective on all that?
I think that when Jen joined the band, she very kind of quickly became just kind of a mini celebrity, really. I think a lot of people hadn't seen a girl play drums like that before,
right?
And we kind of created a monster with her, and we didn't know if she was going to do a career eventually. We just didn't really know what was going to happen, and since I'm doing with a Christian interview, I can say it was a little bit like we just didn't know what God had in store. Sometimes you just like, God, I don't know what doors you're going to open or not. It's kind of a mystery. I'm not a Christian interview. In other words, if you were a Christian, I probably would just say, we just didn't know where it was going to go. But the truth is, we know that God is, God orders the steps of men, as men and women, of course. He orders what's going to happen, and I think we just got to kind of be faithful and go to God. If you want Ledger to become a solo artist, that's fine with me. If you don't want to, that's fine. If you want me involved, if you don't want me involved, what does this mean? And so we've always held this kind of open hands with she may go and do her own thing, and that's up to the Lord. And if that's what it is, we'll 100% support her because we're great. She's one of my best friends. Her and my wife are best friends, and we love her. But she didn't want to do anything outside of Skillet. She really feels called to be with the band. And so we said, well, then why don't we sign you as an artist? And then that way we can all work out our schedules together.
Right.
So, we're not double booking, and we can kind of help shape your sound and write some music with you. And she asked me if I would sing on the record. And I said, of course, I don't want to, in other words, you can get anyone you want to sing on the record, but I'm happy to do it. So I think that having that kind of support from the band was really good for her. Sure. And how I feel about it artistically, I think it's a really fantastic album. And I think that we tried to to kind of make it its own identity, so it doesn't sound like Skillet without me, basically. But, you know, the worst parts of Skillet are gone. You know, so finding a way to kind of make it sound like her. You know, Jen really loves pop music. She really loves electronic music. She's not really into like metal. Right. You know, the stuff that would, you know, be like, you know, for me, like the really hard-edged Skillet stuff like Savior and Forsaken. That's not necessarily the stuff she likes as much as she would like Feel Invincible and Hero and those kinds of songs. So we just thought, you know what, we can make a niche for her to where she is like a really hard electronic pop artist. That would be really cool, and kind of gives her her own brand. And so we're very supportive of her and happy to see what God's going to do with it. And we don't know what that's going to be yet, but we're trying to make it all work. And in fact, we wanted to play we've been playing one of her songs on Skillet shows where she's not performing. So I thought, you know what, it'd be really cool to show our support for Ledger if Skillet performed a Ledger song. So I jump on the drums for one of her songs, and then Skillet plays it and she fronts, and it's kind of a cool little bonus for the fans. Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even know about that. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, I'm not a great drummer, but, you know, who cares? Everybody's watching Jim anyway. So they don't even know. They don't even know I play bass or drums, so it's all fine. He's got rhythm. That's right. I got style. Yeah. That's cool, man. That's cool. Well, real quick, how much time do you have left? Because I don't want to make you run over. And there's one question I always like to close with, but I just want to make sure that I'm not gonna bogart your time. No, that's fine. Go for it. Okay, cool. This is one question I always like to get in. And I mean, there's a dozen other questions I could ask you, but I always think this is kind of the most revealing out of any question that I ever ask an artist. And especially for you, I mean, you've been around for a long time. You've put out many records. Now you've got a second band. Dude, you're accomplished is what I'm getting at. But despite the fact that you're a rock star, especially in Russia, what would you say, John Cooper, is the most un-rock and roll thing about you? Oh man, you know, there's a lot of un-rock and roll things about me. Funny enough, I mean, a lot of things about me are totally rock and roll, but I've got kind of a lot. I mean, like I love Celine Dion. I've seen Celine Dion in concert twice. Okay, that's pretty not rock and roll. I did not see that coming. Yeah. The people that know me always laugh about it. Now, funny enough, there's lots of metal people that would be like, yeah, me too, but they just wouldn't admit it. I'm just kind of like shameless about the things I like. You know, I love comic books. It's not necessarily on rock and roll, but it's not the toughest thing in the world. But I love comic books. I love Marvel, Batman. I have ever since I was a kid, and that's you know pretty cool. I can sew. I sew some of my own stuff that I wear for photographs or on stage. If you see something that looks handmade, there's a chance that I may have made it myself. Oh, wow. That's kind of I don't know. It's another artistic expression, but, you know, a lot of times people think of sewing. They don't think of, a guy with a beard. That's a pretty good handful. Okay. I like it, man. I like it. And it's funny about the sewing thing. I did make a couple of bucks in college from guys who figured out that I could sew buttons on because they would be having like a project presentation or something later that day, and their shirt that they had that would work, the button popped off of. And so they're like, can you sew a button on in like 10 minutes? I'm like, yeah, be $5. I'm like, okay, fine. See? It's actually a good skill, especially in college, because all those guys are putting on the freshman 15, their buttons are popping off all the time. Right. Putting on all that weight and button, like what? I can't won't button anymore because your neck has gotten all fat. Right. Yeah. No doubt, man. That's guy problems. I don't know. I've got a big neck, so I don't know. No, dude, I totally understand. Like, collars are not my friend. They just aren't. It's like I'm a big guy in general, but collars have never been my friend. And I don't feel like I have a fat neck, but man, they're just uncomfortable. They are uncomfortable, and they make the collar really thin. Girls listening are probably like, what are they talking about? This is a real dude problem. I think it's probably like, back in the era where girls had to wear those, corset things when they take all the breath out of them. They're really, that's a little bit like what a necktie can feel like.
Right. As a matter of fact, I heard somewhere that there was like a study recently that said if you want to do better at work, don't button your collar because it actually constricts blood flow to your brain. I was like, oh, that's bad.
I believe it.
That's terrible. Sheesh, man.
There you go.
Well, dude, I think that will probably do. Like I said, there's a dozen other questions I could ask you, but I want to make sure I'm respecting your time, and it's been a pleasure to have you. And hopefully, you know, especially with this new project, hopefully we can have you back again soon, despite the fact I know you got it like just a slam-packed calendar. But thank you. It's just been a pleasure getting to chat with you again, and hopefully we can do it again sometime. But just thanks, dude. It's been a blast.
Absolutely. I enjoyed chatting with you. Thanks to all the listeners out there for rocking with Skillet. We love you, and we hope to do this again.